Yo, what's up guys, Bajheera here. So this is going to be a fast video, okay? You know me, I like to make these guide videos that are super long, but I'm going to try my best to keep this one a little bit more compact. Because what we're talking about today is Fury PvP. Now, the disclaimer at the beginning of this video is, Fury is not your best bet for competitive PvP, okay? It is a lot of fun, and I've played it in Arena to goof around. But if you guys are interested in actually pushing a rating as a warrior, definitely check out my arms guides, check out my arms gameplay. That is going to be a lot more helpful and instructive for you to actually make progress in competitive PvP on the spec that is best for it. But if you are like, man, Fury looks like a lot of fun. I see you tearing up in BGs. What build are you using? I want to try that too. This video is for you. So, to start things off, just in no particular order, just because we have my character pane open, the main things that you're looking for in terms of stats for Fury Warriors are pretty much the same thing as arms, I would say. I think that versatility for any spec of PvP is probably going to be your most important stat, right? So the cool thing about PvP gear is everything from PvP comes with verse, and usually the higher stat on that gear is verse. So versatility should be on every single piece. I think next to verse, I think haste is a really fun one. So if you can try to get haste on as many pieces of gear as possible, that'd be great. And then where you can't get haste, I think some crit is probably nice, or mastery. The decision that you're making there is basically mastery gives you more like just percent damage, and then crit has that opportunity to really pop somebody. And I feel like crits hit really hard in PvP right now, with crit being a little bit less nerfed than it was before. In terms of the amount of damage it deals, it feels pretty good right now. So I think crit is kind of fun and definitely worth experimenting with, but some of my pieces still have mastery on it, like the weapon has mastery. Eventually I'll probably grab these crit gloves instead of the mastery gloves. Just didn't get them from my boxes yet, but you have that option, so I might try out that as well. If you wanted to go for higher mastery in verse, you could. If you wanted to go for higher crit in verse, you could. But I still think haste just makes everything feel good, generate a lot of rage, do a lot of damage, just feels nice. In terms of your legendaries, the two legendaries that I like for Fury are either Tormented Kings for proccing Bladestorms or Avatar. When you Bladestorm Recklessness or Avatar, right? That's pretty nice. When you pop Wreck and it gives you Avatar, that's big single target pressure. And when you pop Wreck and it Bladestorms, as long as you're enraged, it's going to deal a lot of damage too. So it changes the way that you play a little bit. You want to make sure that you're enraged before you press Wreck or Bladestorm or anything, right? I mean, like, you want to be enraged for Bladestorm, but just make sure that you're enraged before you pop Recklessness, so that if it Bladestorms during your Wreck, then it does more damage. So this is kind of interesting. It makes the gameplay feel a little bit weird because the Bladestorm proc is odd sometimes, but Fury Bladestorm with two two-handers does kind of shred, so it is pretty nice. I will also say that you can use Unhinged, and you will benefit from the 2 Mortal Strikes that pop off during Bladestorm. So like popping Recklessness, you know, into an enraged Bladestorm that does 2 Mortal Strikes as Fury is kind of nuts. So you can do that if you wanted to swap into that build with Unhinged. You could do that, and it does work with Fury, which is pretty cool. So those are the legendaries in your stats. In terms of your talents and honor talents, you have some options here. I think that fresh meat is kind of fun to get that enraged, like in an early game setting, like if you're playing Karain or something, and you want to get your enraged right up off the bat, and you want to get that crit chance right up off the bat, and just blast somebody in the opener. Kind of fun. But I think sudden death overall is pretty good. Just getting the chance to proc and execute so you get that free rage and that big chunk of damage is probably your best bet. As usual for PvP, Stormbolt is pretty much the only thing you're ever going to use. I know Fury has some healing, which is nice. But Impending Victory is just never really worth dropping Stormbolt for. Now, when you see me playing like Deathwish Fury, I do go double time a lot of the time, just because I want to have maximum, you know, movement. Don't really care about stunning anybody, just want to go nuts. But once again, you can always experiment with other talents, but Stormbolt's pretty much what I lock in here. Massacre, once again, execute hits really hard nowadays, and being able to use it when they're 35% HP is pretty nice. I never really use Onslaught. I could experiment with it, but I'm not really impressed with it. Maybe I should try it out more. 4k damage is about as much as like a Rampage almost, right? 1,000 damage less than a Rampage, but could be kind of fun to mess with, but once again, executes is juicy. Frenzy is kind of cool, but I just don't know if you're really just going to be tunneling one target enough to get full value out of that. But maybe. Maybe if you are just going to tunnel one target into the dirt, you could get some frenzy stacks. But once again, execute is just kind of an easy choice there. Furious Charge, the big healing is nice if you need to heal yourself. Bounding Stride is great for mobility. I use this for Death Wish, but one of the strengths of Fury is actually War Paint. Taking 10% less damage when you're enraged is pretty nice. So it's like half of the D stance, right? Damage reduction, but without the damage being reduced that you deal, right? Without your damage being reduced. So War Paint's actually kind of nice. So I know Fury has self-healing, but it actually is really dang squishy. So having War Paint is pretty helpful. And I think it definitely outweighs the amount of healing that you got off of Furious Charge. But Furious Charge is fun to use, but for PvP, I think War Paint is going to be your best bet. Here, Cruelty is pretty cool. While enraged, Raging Blow deals more damage and has a chance to reset itself. So you'll notice that because of your PvP talent, Enduring Rage, in PvP, you're going to be spamming Raging Blow, and I feel like you actually use it less than Bloodthirst. Maybe I'm playing it wrong, but I feel like in PvP, because of Enduring Rage and because of Cruelty, Raging Blow actually has bigger priority over Bloodthirst once you're enraged. Seethe is just not something you're going to use. Rampage, this thing is just like, it's kind of a cool idea, but it's just not something you're going to use. This is like a clear winner here, I would say. It's just such good utility, or such good synergy with Enduring Rage. We'll talk about Honor Talents in just 1 second. Meat Cleaver, it's kind of cute, maybe fun for PvE. Dragon Roar, we tried it, it's bad. Bladestorm actually shreds as Fury. So I would recommend Bladestorm for sure. And you gotta remember that it deals this damage over 3.3 seconds, but when you're enraged, you have more haste, so it actually deals that much, it actually deals more than that damage in less time. So one of the weaknesses is your Bladestorm's kind of short, so you don't have a long period of immunity to CC from Bladestorm, but you actually rip people up. And if you're using Tormented Kings, then it's going to proc Avatar or Recklessness during your Bladestorm every time, so it's big damage. And if you're, like I said, just make sure you're enraged before you Bladestorm and you'll shred people. It's really funny. Now, this last talent tier, these are all probably actually not too bad. Anger Management, I feel like, is pretty fun when you're gonna have like a lot of uptime in PvP and just shred people and have just multiple Recklessness usages popping off. This does synergize well with the Conduit that makes Recklessness last longer. This one also synergizes well with the Conduit that makes Recklessness last longer because your abilities change during Recklessness. And this one is the one I've been playing with a lot recently because it does mega damage. Now, I was talking about how Raging Blow kind of becomes the priority over Bloodthirst in PvP. This really continues that. This makes Raging Blow hit for like an execute or more. It's kind of nuts. And it charges you to your opponents, so Reckless Abandon has been a talent that I've really been enjoying recently. But I gotta say, Siegebreaker is like still super reliable. Stormbolt, Siegebreaker, Rampage with your burst like every 30 seconds is really, really nice, right? It's just like a consistent way to deal damage and force pressure out. You can cleave the Siegebreaker by Whirlwinding first. These are like, you know, basic Fury things, but it works in PvP, of course, as well. So if you do get people stacked up, Whirlwind, Siegebreaker, just blast them. And with a Bladestorm, whoo boy, that is a lot of damage. And it does line up with Bladestorm, right? Because a 30-second cooldown. So you have, you know, every other Warbreaker is a chance to Bladestorm for big old damage. So it is pretty cool. I like Siegebreaker a lot. Siegebreaker is super reliable. But I do think that playing Reckless Abandon is also really fun, just because of the fact that Raging Blow deals so much damage and charges you to your targets. So I would say these two are probably a little bit better than Anger Management, but Anger Management can still be kind of fun. In terms of PvP talents, I think that Enduring Rage is like mandatory. You never take this out. It's so good that Enrage is extended by Raging Blow, especially because Cruelty gives it a chance to reset itself, and it doesn't really have that long of a cooldown, right? 6.6 second recharge is not that long, but the fact that it resets, and then with Reckless Abandon, you're going to be pressing it a lot too. I think Battle Trance is pretty nice. I think that this is another one that I would usually leave in just because of the smooth health regen and the smooth rage generation as well. Like these are really good, right? So you're spamming Raging Blow. When you use Raging Blow 2 times in a row, and I'm pretty sure it's not like you can't go like Raging Blow, Bloodthirst, Raging Blow, and have Battle Trance proc. It has to be like Raging Blow, and then you'll have a Battle Trance proc, and that'll feed you rage, which is I think more important. The health regen is nice, but I mean once again you're squishy like. 3% HP every 3 seconds is not going to be like a huge noticeable thing, but it's nice. So I would usually lock these two in, and then this is the one that I play around with. So like if you're fighting something that you need to disarm, use disarm here. If you're fighting something that you just want to do, you know, big damage to, but you don't really struggle with uptime, Slaughterhouse could be kind of nice, especially because this does stack with the Conduit, so you can get some big old Bloodthirst at low HP. Another good one. You know, Blood Rage is interesting to me, and a lot of times when I post videos, people are like, why aren't you using Blood Rage? So maybe this is better than I'm giving it credit for. I just don't usually love it. And it says you gain 400 rage over 4 seconds. I'm certain that that's like a tooltip error, because it's like you might gain 40 rage over 4 seconds or something, but 400 rage, you do not get you don't get a rage bar every second with Blood Rage. So it does get you out of roots and might generate a teeny bit of rage for you. Maybe this will help you keep Ignore Pain up better. I don't usually use Ignore Pain very much as Fury. I just go balls to the wall. That's another maybe potential area of improvement for me in terms of my gameplay, but I'm like, dude, Ignore Pain costs too much as Fury. I just want to go in. So I don't usually use it very much, but maybe Battle Trance can help you do that. But I mean, if you're getting rooted a lot, like behind pillars, you know, like maybe if you're just planning on just going Commando Joe on a Resto Shaman behind a pillar, and that you know they're gonna drop a little root totem, then maybe just have Battle Trance in your back pocket. But I like Death Sentence a lot too. Death Sentence is a good one. And then of course, you see me using Death Wish and like BGs. Death Wish is not just really something I recommend for actual arena. You're just gonna get your head chopped off. However, it is really, really fun and really, really funny. So if you haven't experimented with Death Wish yet, grab yourself a healer or 4 and then try Death Wish out in BGs. It's a blast. But I think Slaughterhouse is a good one, and those are the talents I recommend generally. Those are the ones I actually swap between. But yeah, Death Sentence against things that have high mobility, and you have to like kill them. Like I use this against like monks basically. Like monks, if they're ever low health, they're just gonna start running away, and then chopping them down while they're trying to run is always nice. But that's talents and honor talents. And we have stats, right? We had stats, legendaries, talents, honor talents. So in terms of conduits, now my conduit path is going to look different because I'm playing Night Fae. Although I will say that people in PvE are sort of catching on how good Fury Night Fae is, which is hilarious. I still don't think it's that great in PvP, but it is fun. Now the soulbind that I've chosen is mostly just because I don't really want to mess up my soulbinds for arms, right? I have two for arms. I think that Naya would be sick for Fury just because of the fact that you get extra mastery. But once again, let's not worry too much about my soulbind because you guys might be playing Venthyr or Kyrian and still want to try out Fury. Let's just talk about the actual conduits themselves. So I really like Depths of Insanity. Like I said, it has good synergy. Having Recklessness last longer is sick for a variety of reasons. For Tormented Kings, it makes your Blade Storm last longer, it makes your Avatar last longer. I believe because the duration of the extra buffs is also based on the duration of your initial buff. So having those buffs last longer is great. I mean, obviously Recklessness lasting longer is just obviously awesome. But we also have it synergizing well with anger management, because the more rage you generate, the more rage you can spend, and the more you're gonna have Recklessness come up more often, right? Or I guess in a shorter time, which is awesome. It really synergizes well with Reckless Abandon, because that means that you're gonna have a couple more seconds with those like super jacked up Reckless Abandon versions of Bloodthirst and Raging Blow, which is pretty sick. So that's nice. And of course, you're just gonna do a lot of crits and a lot of damage during that time, which is really, really cool. So I like Depths of Insanity a lot. I'm not sure it's like the absolute best, but it's just fun to use. And once again, when I'm playing Fury, I'm probably playing this just for fun. So playing talents that are fun is cool too. I like Disturb the Peace for Fury. I think that having Fury just be able to have an immense amount of uptime is the way that you actually like deal a bunch of damage. And I think that Piercing Howl on like a 22-second cooldown is pretty dang good. You can use the sort of standard reliable ones like Inspiring Presence, you know, to give yourself some health to heal yourself a little bit more with Bloodthirst and things like that. Intervene, using Intervene to keep your teammates safe is great. But I kind of just like the peels and the uptime with Fury, because Fury doesn't have a Mortal Strike. But if you do have 100% uptime, you actually deal kind of a lot of damage. Nothing insane, but like that's just, you know, if you're trying to make Fury work, uptime is one of the things that's important. You don't have any bleeds or anything like that, so you actually do require uptime quite a bit to deal damage. But if you stand on target, that's really, really nice. I haven't experimented with this one at all. Maybe I need to eventually just kill people in a fear stun. I haven't tried it too much, but maybe I should. Stalwart Guardian, just like arms, I mean, like, reducing the cooldown of enraged regen by 32 seconds is nuts. Like, that's like the only defensive cooldown you have, so, I mean, like, and it's not even that great, but having it on a shorter cooldown does help a little bit. So I would just go ahead and lock that one in. I wouldn't worry about any of these other ones. I mean, if you're playing, like, multiple ones, maybe Brutal Vitality is okay. If you're going to play Impending Victory, then you can try this one, and then you have a little bit more healing that way. You got some options, but once again, I would just lock in Stalwart. Now, for me as Night Fae, I'm just messing around with Destructive Reverberations just because I love posting those one-shot clips of people just getting absolutely fairy dusted in Arena and BGs. So this one's hilarious. It also makes it come up a little bit faster. Unfortunately, I don't usually use the reduced cooldown element of this because I do want my Aftershock to line up with Recklessness, because if Aftershock crits, I mean, it's a big hit. But if you were not using Destructive Reverberations, I would probably recommend using Vicious Contempt. Vicious Contempt, once again, does stack with Slaughterhouse. So when somebody is below 35% HP, you're getting, you know, the 38.4, or whatever your conduit level is, of percent increased damage to Bloodthirst, and then Slaughterhouse is also buffing it by 50% too. So you can get some, like, massive execute quality Bloodthirst when people are low health with this. So I would say Vicious Contempt is a better overall choice than Reverberations, but this is hilariously fun. And you can use this conduit with Anger Management, where your Recklessness will line up with your Shockwave a little bit more often. Your Recklessness will probably be up before Shockwave with Anger Management. But if you wanted to use this, like, I think if you were going to play Naya as Fury, then Reverberations would be good with Anger Management, so you can get that Mastery buff more often and have it be doing mega damage. You get a little bit of extra damage from Crane, but once again, I don't want to talk about the Conduit Soulbind path as much, just this in general. Rampage Refunding Raging Blow, like, it's like okay, because we like Raging Blow in PvP, because it keeps your enrage going, but, I mean, I don't think it's worth that. I think that having a nice solid finisher as Fury is good. Ashen is good in PvE, but you're not going to ever stack that many executes up, so I don't think it's all that worth it. But I think that probably about covers what I wanted to talk about, right? We had stats, which is verse, haste, crit is kind of what I like, even though that's not really what's represented here. My crit is kind of low still, but I think Fury just has a lot of mastery baseline. But I think mastery does seem to scale pretty well as Fury, so that's something to think about. But yeah, you want verse, main stat. I think haste is really nice. Other stats can be experimented with. I like, for legendaries, I like Tormented Kings and Unhinged. Now, you could play Deathmaker, too. That might be kind of fun, proccing a Siegebreaker. That's another one to mention, but I don't have it myself yet. Saving Soul Ash for 9.0.5 arms legendaries, so we can make a video about that, too. Stay tuned. And tune into the stream. We talk about this stuff non-stop every day on stream as well. So be sure to follow along at twitch.tv/Bajheera as well. In terms of Conduits, we just knocked that out. In terms of talents and honor talents, we knocked that out. So I think that will at least get you started in terms of Fury, PvP, setting your character up. In terms of actual gameplay, Fury is really, really fun to play. You're going to find that you have, like, super smooth globals, because you usually press Bloodthirst on cooldown to try to maintain an enrage. Raging Blow and Bloodthirst both are basically just tools to build rage for you. And then you Rampage, it's a guaranteed enrage, does big damage, execute when you can. Be enraged as much as you possibly can by using Bloodthirst on cooldown and keeping it Raging Blow going to keep your enrage going. Rampage, once again, is guaranteed enrage, big damage. That's basically how it works. You build rage with Bloodthirst, Raging Blow, and then Whirlwind when you have nothing else to do, and then Rampage for big damage and enrage windows. Your burst is pretty much just making sure you're enraged if possible, using Recklessness, Blade Storming on top of people, using your Aftershock if you have that, using your class ability, your Covenant ability, if you have that. But just understanding how Fury works, right? You build rage, you dump it with Rampage, you get enraged, you use your hardest hitting abilities during enrage, and just crank damage on people. And that's pretty much how Fury works. And you can watch gameplay videos of that. Happy to keep those posted for you. I just installed Trophy GCD, so you can actually see my globals as they happen. So you can tune into the videos and be on the lookout for that. People have been asking for this for a little while, so I finally went ahead and got that going. But yeah, you're just a chop and Fury machine, and it's a blast. You're a little squishy. It's not the best choice. You have no Mortal Strike. You don't really have any extra utility compared to Arms Warrior, but it is a lot of fun to play. And I hope this guide at least helps you get started in terms of setting your character up. Unfortunately, the gameplay for Fury is fairly straightforward, but those are, like the gameplay itself, we can have those arena videos and those BG videos be instructional for you as well. But like I said, Fury is really fun to play, and it's pretty straightforward in terms of the DPS rotation, so hopefully it's not too bad. Just once you understand the basics of build rage, stay enraged, do damage during enrage, and then use your, you know, offensive and defensive cooldowns accordingly. But let's wrap this up so we can get our day going. Hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to give it a nice little thumbs up if it was helpful for you. If you liked watching it, if you'd like to see more, make sure you subscribe as well. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, dudes. Peace.